With the release of Final Destination Bloodlines, we now have 6 films in the franchise, so let's put them in order from my least favorite to favorite. I've been a fan of the series ever since the second one came out. That was actually the first one that I saw. Then I went back and watched the first. I watched the original trilogy once the third one was out many times growing up. I've always thought it was such an excellent concept for a horror franchise. Like, if you're running away from Freddy or Michael Myers or whoever, what are you running from? Death. You don't want them to kill you. So let's just cut out the middleman. We don't need the guy with the knife. Let's just have death itself be the thing coming after you. And it freaked everybody out, making you think of all of these ways in your normal life that you can maybe possibly die. Nobody likes log trucks anymore. I think it's one of the most consistent horror franchises out there. I'm glad it's back. 6 is on track to make a good amount of money, and so I think we'll get more, and I would love to see that. But for now, let's go ahead and jump into my ranking with number 6, easily, no question, The Final Destination. Stupid ass title. It's Final Destination 4. It's the only one that doesn't have Tony Todd in any capacity. The hell's up with that? This, by far, is the most common answer for the worst in the series. Not all the time, though. I have seen some people not have it at the bottom, and if you're one of those people, please explain, because I don't understand. This is dog shit. On my recent rewatch, I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not as bad as I remember. What could possibly actually be that bad about it? No. It's terrible. The CG literally looks like Sharknado. It looks like a Sci-Fi Channel original movie. I don't know what happened there. It is embarrassing. From the time you see the explosions and the people getting crushed and everything happening in the opening set piece, it's just a disaster, and not the good kind. Not the kind of disaster that you want. The 3D gimmick just makes it all even worse. They do these flashes throughout the film. Every time the main character has a little premonition, they do this CG 3D shit on the screen, and it just looks like garbage every time. If there's one positive I can give this film, is that it makes the other ones look better by comparison, because 5 and 6 don't have great CG, but it's better than the CGI in this one, so I can't even get that mad, because I know how bad it could be. So thank you, The Final Destination, for setting the bar so low. The acting overall is probably the worst in the series. It's probably the worst ending. It doesn't do even a tiny little thing different to switch it up. It's literally just the most basic version of, we thought we cheated death, but then we didn't. Wow, how'd you come up with that? McKelty Williamson is in it. That's cool. It's cool to see him. It's a shame that he's in the bad one. I do think it's weird that we need to have a character who says the N-word in Final Destination. We need to have a racism subplot. This is a movie in which a man's organs get sucked out of his asshole and splashed at the audience's face in 3D. I don't know that that's the movie where we need to be discussing racial tensions. I don't know that those two things fit together. The deaths aren't even good. Like, if I made a top 10 death scenes from the franchise, none of the ones from this film would be on there. The editing is bad. Like, when Hunt is swimming down into the pool, he's swimming down, and it just instantly cuts, and he's facing the opposite direction with his ass right on top of the drain now all of a sudden. It's like they couldn't figure out how to film it in a way that it would make sense that he would get stuck there, so they just had to cheat with the editing. There's goofy shit, like at the end when the girl gets her leg stuck in the escalator and it immediately cuts to her face, and she has like a ton of blood just falling down out of her mouth. From what? From your leg? I could be wrong. I'm no medical professional, but I don't think that's how that works. Then you got like the hair salon scene, which just doesn't make any sense. Like, the ceiling fan falls next to her. What was that? There are things like the dentist scene in 2, where nothing involved in the dentist office actually ends up killing Tim. He dies outside. But the stuff in the dentist's office was trying to kill him. He would have died had there not been intervention. But in the hair salon, her kids run in, one of them falls, she looks at them, she doesn't move, she just swivels her chair, and then the fan falls over here. What the hell? What are you doing, Death? You missed. Was it like a gamble? Like, well, if she gets up, then the fan will hit her. That's not how it works. Death doesn't take like 50-50 bets on, well, maybe she'll get up. It's just a really lazy way to write the scene. Make it seem like there is actually going to be some danger, even if you plan on killing her with a rock a few seconds later. The movie is so rushed. The opening premonition is over by the 9-minute mark. It's so lazy. It's like checklist. Just get in there and do it. It doesn't matter how much effort is put in. Opening premonition, death, 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 ending, whatever. Bad deaths, bad visuals, bad acting, bad story, bad everything. Awful. I will never watch it again. Now that that's out of the way, the rest of this list was actually difficult for me because all of the rest of them I like to a similar degree. I think they're all fun. But coming in at number 5 for me, this may be controversial, I don't know, is the original Final Destination. I have a ton of nostalgia for this, and I still think it's a good time, but what separates it is the tone. This has the most serious tone in the franchise, and some people might prefer that. I don't. I think the premise works best when you're having fun with it, but I do like that this one is different. It's the only one that you can go to for that tone and the atmosphere, because it was the first one. They're introducing us to this concept. They need us to take it seriously. They need us and the characters to feel like this is truly sad, what is happening around them. And it feels more like some kind of ghost story, just with the tone and the pacing and the atmosphere that they set here. And so I like that it does have that. Just for me personally, I do get more joy out of the sequels when they just start going crazy with the over-the-top kills. But you gotta give it credit for starting everything, for getting everybody paranoid about all the weird things that could kill people. I still do really enjoy it. It does have some problems though. I prefer it when death is treated as mysteriously as possible, and in this film it's more of like an intentional character than in any of the others. There's a literal shadow that shows up that people can see, and it does something one time that it never does again, which is absolutely bizarre. It cleans up the crime scene. After it kills Todd, it makes the water magically retract. There are little things here and there in some of the movies that I think are pushing it a little too far with the things that happen around these characters, but that is the one thing that I cannot tolerate. And I'm like, no, death is cleaning up after itself. Why? That's silly. And then it never does it again. I think the relationship between Alex and Clear is weird beyond just how Clear is already weird by herself. At some point in the movie, she just starts calling him baby, and she does it multiple times, and it's really weird. It's like, I don't know you like that. I would assume this is because in the original version of the film, it was supposed to end with Clear being pregnant with Alex's baby, and so they would have had a more explicit thing in that version, but that was obviously changed. That's not the case anymore, but some of the dialogue remains. So she's calling him baby all the time. The ending also doesn't make any sense, and I need to explain this. If you want to skip my tangent, you're free to do so. There are timestamps for the next one. So, in the premonition, Krista and Blake asked Alex if he would switch seats, which he does, so he moves next to Todd. When he's making his diagram of the order that they're going to die in, he puts himself in that seat next to Todd, and he determines that he is supposed to die before Clear. Then he realizes, wait a minute, I never switched seats. That means actually Clear is before me. So he runs off to go save Clear. For 20 plus years, I just accepted that at face value. When he said, I never switched seats, I was just like, oh, okay, sure. But it wasn't until last week, for the first time in my life, where I actually thought about that line and I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. What do you mean you never switched seats? I mean, first of all, you did. In the real world, after the premonition, Krista and Blake asked him to switch seats. He moved to the seat next to Todd, then got off the plane. So you did still move to that seat, but that's not even relevant, because whatever you did after the premonition doesn't matter. Death's design is based on what happens in the premonition. That's the order things are supposed to happen. That's the order death is trying to get things back to. And in that design, you were in the seat next to Todd. Whatever you did after the premonition doesn't affect that. Yeah, obviously after the premonition you didn't switch seats. You weren't on the plane at all. None of them were. That's the premise. Like, what are you talking about? So the whole ending doesn't actually make any sense. Not that that's a big deal. It doesn't ruin it or anything. You know, I'm not going to think about it that hard. It's Final Destination. It's still fun. It's just interesting that I never thought about it before, and apparently Death is an idiot. I'm smarter than Death. Come at me, bitch! But yeah, that's Final Destination. It's a little bit different. I understand why people would like it for its more serious tone, but I do have a lot more fun with some of the sequels. It's getting more difficult to rank these as it goes, but for now, I am going to have my number 4 as Final Destination 5. This was such a great surprise. After 4, I think we were like, okay, it's done. Pack it up, folks. And then only 2 years later, the fastest turnaround that the franchise has ever had, all of a sudden, it's really good again. The CG is still not great, but it's better. We got some great kills. The gymnastics one might be the very best in the franchise. It's definitely up there. There's just so many things that can go wrong. There's so much tension as you're watching her move her feet around that goddamn screw. You're just waiting for it to happen. And then when it finally happens, it's so quick and sudden and not in the way you expect. And then the moment of impact when she just snaps is so brutal. It's one of my favorite deaths in the franchise to see somebody else watch for the first time, and it's such a good one. I like the new rule about taking somebody else's lifespan by killing them. You know, it's out of nowhere. It's just made up by the writers because we needed something fresh, but you gotta do it. You gotta sacrifice continuity a little bit, introduce some new things every now and then, just for the sake of keeping things fresh, and I'm fine with that. It leads to some tension that's unlike what you get in a lot of the other movies, where there's a guy who's having like a genuine moral dilemma about what he should or shouldn't do, and a psychotic break as he has somehow convinced himself that he should kill Molly, and then there's just a dude with a gun now, and that's the big problem that we're facing. Like, we're already facing normal things around us that might just jump up and stab us in the face, but now there's also just a dude with a gun, and so it's a kind of a different sort of threat than usual. It is weird how the killing somebody to take their life doesn't actually seem to work. Like, the final scene with Nathan is hilarious. Great way to end the movie. Oh, he only had a couple days left. Shit, and then he gets crushed. But I mean, Sam and Molly die too. So did the detective also only have a couple weeks left? Does Death just do whatever it wants anyway? Well, yeah, technically, as part of that plan, your life has been extended, but I'm allowed to implement a different plan over here if I want to. I wasn't trying to kill you, I was trying to kill Molly, and you just happened to be there. Like, Death can kind of just make its rules, except for the whole new life thing, which worked that one time, so it doesn't really matter, I guess. And of course, you have the prequel twist, which blew everybody's minds. It's such a great idea. It's so simple, but it's very effective. You just don't expect it at all. They talk about Paris so many times in the movie, but all of these movies have Easter eggs. They always have names and numbers that reference the other movies, so you're just like, oh yeah, Paris, they're bringing that up again. And then when you see Carter and Alex at the end, it's fucking crazy, and it's a great way to end it. And then you go back and you look at all the little things and you realize, yeah, the way they dress, the technology, it's not quite modern. You look at things like the spa ticket, it literally says the expiration date on there, which is June 2001. It's right there in front of the camera, like they hold on it. You just don't see it because you're not looking for it. I think this movie's really fun. The CG's not great. The acting isn't the best across the board. Some of the kills in the middle I don't love. Isaac is such an annoying fuck. I know he's supposed to be. You're not supposed to like him, but the amount of time that we have to spend listening to his ass is just irritating. The idea of the LASIK kill, woof. I mean, a lot of people are afraid of laser eye surgery, and the idea of having your eye even held open by one of those things, I don't like that at all. That gives me the creeps. So really good idea, but the actual death is pretty lame. She just falls out the window. You could have been more creative. Coming in at number 3, this is still really hard to choose, but I do have to choose my fate, just like the DVD feature on Final Destination 3, which is my number 3. On the DVD, you were able to basically do a choose-your-own-adventure thing, where during certain scenes, you would have a choice for what the characters would do. One of them would make the movie play out the normal way, the way you're used to, and then the other way would either be a small little change, or sometimes a significant alteration to the way the scenes played out. And that was cool. I always liked going through that when I was a kid. It's not on the Blu-ray, but if you got the DVD, you can do it. Good memories there. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, obviously the biggest star to come out of this franchise, and you can see her acting talent early on here. It might be the best performance in the franchise. She's a likable character. I like the dynamic between her and Kevin, how they start off as just people who knew each other because of who they were dating, and they're not actually that close, and he's kind of a dick. But then they get closer as it goes on, and they don't try to force a romantic thing. They just become friends. I actually really like that. I know a lot of people really like Wendy and are just holding out so much hope that she's secretly alive. She's not. You gotta let it go. The tanning bed. Absolutely one of the best deaths in the series. It's the one I would want to experience the least. In Bloodlines, there's one that I really wouldn't want to go through, but I think the tanning bed has to get the award for most painful, burning alive. I'm not about that. It's not even fun to watch. It's just horrifying, but it's very memorable, and just the build up to it, you know it's coming and you know it's gonna suck. And then it's capped off by the greatest scene transition of all time when it cuts from the tanning beds to their coffins. I really enjoy this one, but it doesn't feel like it really does much new with the story. The only difference is that it has the Polaroids now instead of just the visions, which is kind of cool. I like that, but it's not actually that different. I also feel like the ending is a little anticlimactic. Not the subway, but the ending of the main part of the story. Because like Wendy is supposed to die, and she thinks Ian is going to kill her or cause her death in some way, but then Ian gets crushed by that thing. I think the implication is that Wendy would have been crushed by that thing, but Ian's very presence there caused things to be different and caused her to be in a different spot. So she didn't get crushed by the thing, because otherwise, nothing really tried to kill her. Like, those fireworks shot out, but nobody intervened. She just ducked. Like, if that was death trying to kill her, it did a lazy fucking job. It doesn't feel like anything actually came after her. Like, Ian just being there. Intervention usually needs to be more intentional and physical, so it feels like it kind of just fizzles out at the end. Like, oh, she just didn't die, I guess. But then she does later. Anyway, I have fun with this one. It's really enjoyable. I like the leads a lot. I just wish it did a little more with the story. I had to think hard about this. What would be my number 2 and my number 1? But this is really what I'm feeling right now. And I gotta put at number 2, Final Destination 2. The first one that I ever saw. Might be the one that I've watched the most times over the years. I really like the bridge collapse and the sky tower, but the highway pileup will always hold a very special place in my heart, maybe always as the best opening disaster, just because it's so much more relatable. Your plane is not going to explode, your roller coaster is not going to derail, but car crashes happen all the time. Maybe not to that extent, but car crashes happen all the time. We're driving all the time. We see these big trucks carrying things, and I think we've always had that little fear of like, I hope that shit is secure. But after this movie came out, it became like an epidemic of people just not trusting the big trucks. It's just a big, great action set piece. I like the kills throughout this. Tim's is great. The dentist is another thing that can make people think of all the things that can go wrong and kill you. And then turns out he just gets pancaked outside, which is one of my favorite kills. The double whammy of Kat getting impaled and then Rory getting sliced by the fence. There's some really good stuff here. You have Clear returning. It's a shame that Alex died off screen to a brick, but I guess that's just how it goes. And this one adds a significant amount of story. We have the rule that new life can stop death's design if you die and resuscitate yourself, and it works. It is confirmed in Bloodlines that Kimberly and, you would assume, Burke, they don't say it, but there's no reason to think otherwise, have survived. To this day, they actually defeated it, which makes this one stand out amongst the franchise. And I also like the twist that these people's lives were all affected by the Flight 180 survivors, because of course, it's not just the fact that people survive, they go on to do things, and they affect other people's lives in all of these ways you don't expect because of the butterfly effect and whatnot. And so these people were actually already supposed to die, but the Flight 180 survivors being alive stopped them from dying, and so now the highway pileup was supposed to be death cleaning it up, but then they survived that too, so now it's trying again, but backwards this time to see if that works any better. It's cool, I like the story additions. The biggest issue with the movie is that the two leads are really bland. Sorry, Kimberly, but like, she's just a nice lady. They're like some of the most bland leads the franchise has. Burke, the fuck is his personality? That he's a cop? Like, I wish this one had Wendy and Kevin. That would make this one perfect. But as it is, even with the bland leads, I just have so many great memories. I enjoyed watching this one so much that I do have it up here as my number 2. Can't believe I'm saying it. I was looking forward to this movie. I thought it would be fun, but I did not expect it to be my number 1, and yet here it is. Final Destination Bloodlines. I know recency bias is a thing, especially with a franchise like this that hinges on your surprise at the death scenes. The death scenes are really what we're there for. And so with the other movies that I've seen so many times, I know them by heart. The suspense is gone. And this one was fresh, and the kills were surprising. So I understand that I might be kind of riding that high a little bit. But I think it was just genuinely great. I was so happy. I had such a good time. I love what they do with the story. They're able to still find little ways to twist it. You stick true to that formula, you have to, but this felt fresh. I didn't watch the trailer, so I didn't know all the details. I just knew a family was involved, so I was watching the opening premonition, which is great. It's one of the best. The CG, still not great. I hope they can polish that up next time, really. But again, it's better than 4. But it's really good. It really plays on people's fear of heights. They do a lot of tension building. They take their time building the suspense, building the characters. But I wasn't sure how this tied in to everything else, because like I said, I didn't watch the trailer. And so I was like, I know this movie doesn't take place in this time period. So then when somebody else woke up from the premonition in modern day, I was like, oh shit, that's awesome. I love that. The idea that so many people were supposed to die in this disaster that it just took death a while to clean it up, and many of them had kids, and those kids had kids who weren't supposed to exist, and now they're dying too, and you just have to think about the chaos. No wonder Death is so mean. He just wants to kill people in all these gnarly ways. He's a busy guy. He's got a lot to keep track of. I wouldn't want that job. You got to think about how everybody's life influence all these other things in everybody else's life and figure out who you got to kill when, and it's just messy. But that's a great idea, and it raises the stakes because this is a family. They're all so close. It makes it sadder when they all die. And overall, it might be the most likable cast in the entire series. I thought the acting was really good. I liked pretty much all of them to some degree, some of them very much so. Eric is one of the standout characters of the entire franchise. He was so much fun. He was really funny. The comedic relief really worked for him, and his relationship with Bobby, that was great. I really enjoyed their dynamic. I didn't want them to die. I felt sad when they did. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of buildup to these scenes. There's the glass in the ice, and you don't know who has it. So you're just waiting to figure out what's going on because there's a rake and there's this other thing and there's all these things that could potentially kill somebody, and then lawnmower to the head. I love the surprises. I love how you never know what exactly it's gonna be. The fucking trash truck. Oh my god. That was just ridiculous in a good way. The MRI is one of the best kills in the whole franchise. That entire sequence was great. When they're talking about how would you even know how many years somebody has left, and then they look to the side and there's a bunch of babies. That's fucking funny. This is the funniest one. I honestly thought the vending machine was going to fall on Bobby because that's one of those like classic factoids that people bring out. You know, more people are crushed to death by vending machines than are killed by sharks every year. So I just thought it was going to be something simple. But no, I'm glad they've carried over the rules, like trying to resuscitate somebody, but they're not just repeating things because they try to do it in a different way, and it very much does not work because of the goddamn MRI. Wow. I mean, it was brutal, it was creative, it was funny in the absurdity of it, because let's be honest, as soon as his shirt started to get pulled, I think all of us immediately questioned, is his dick pierced? Don't lie, all of your minds immediately went to that man's dick. It is the next logical question to ask. Sure enough. And it's also really sad because I didn't want Eric to die. And it's just the idea of the spine slowly snapping into the machine. I don't care about the wheelchair impaling him at the end. It's the spine snapping. It's just nasty. Then cap it off with the vending machine's vengeance. Goddamn, what a great sequence. And it's interesting because you don't think Eric is gonna die. You thought he was safe, so I'm expecting something to happen to Bobby. That just adds a whole nother layer, and yet it makes sense because the only reason that Eric's mom slept with his dad is because of the turmoil in her relationship, a relationship that she wouldn't have had if Iris's bloodline didn't exist. So in a way, even though Eric isn't related to Iris's bloodline, it's still because of them that he exists, if you look at it that way. So again, death's gonna do whatever it wants. The ending isn't great, but I think it's fine. I could tell when they were reviving Stephanie, like, okay, that doesn't count as being dead. Something else is going to happen. I like how it brings it back to the beginning with the train tracks in that location. I even liked the log truck reference. I thought that was funny. I wanted them to survive, though. I wouldn't have minded. But it's just not in the cards for most Final Destination people. So you gotta do it. You gotta end pretty much every movie like that, I guess. But yeah, I like how they did so much different here with the story. The characters were really good. Great kills, great suspense. Hopefully, if they keep making more, which I think they will, they can find new ways to do that as well. New ways to end the movies. Maybe there's not that much you can do there, but as long as they keep coming up with some good ideas, I'm here for it. Maybe polish up that CG, but that's my biggest issue with this. Other than that, I had a ton of fun, and it's a nice, sweet send-off to Tony Todd. I always liked his character remaining mysterious, but with the way they explain him here, I was shocked. I was like, oh my god, the kid is Bloodworth. Holy shit. And I was immediately satisfied with that. Finding out that he, even though he's been really creepy, he's just been a guy who was involved in this incident and has been monitoring and helping as much as he could over the years. He's just kind of weird. Because Tony Todd has passed away, I think that really works. And this works as a send-off. They very clearly knew this would be his last one, especially with the music playing during that scene. You know, that was clearly added after his passing, and it's very sentimental. And so that's just a really nice scene, especially for people who've been with the franchise the whole time. And you don't really think that seriously about most of these movies, but having him just say, appreciate your life, live every second, you never know when it's gonna come. I mean, yeah, that's basically the core of this whole thing. It's big, extravagant, goofy, and crazy, but it does boil down to, you never know what's going to happen. Appreciate what you got while you got it, because you might get your organs sucked out of your asshole. But I think that covers it. Thank you for sticking with me through this long video. I had a lot to say. I have more I could say talking about all the individual kills and characters and everything, and we can do that down in the comments. Let me know which ones you like the best, which ones you don't like, what you like and dislike about them, what kind of Final Destination movie is the kind for you, one that takes itself more seriously, more goofy. Do you like the quick, unexpected kills? Do you like the more elaborate ones? I tend to prefer the elaborate ones and the ones that take their time. Let's talk about the franchise down in the comments. There's a lot to go over. Do you like 4? Why? Anybody else really riding that high from Bloodlines and enjoying it as much as I did? Leave all your thoughts in the comments. We'll talk about it down there. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me. I appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.